Hey guys, so in this lecture what we are going to see is we're going to see how we can make this a little more random and dynamically generated. Of course it's not difficult, but we need to make sure we code it in. So let's get started. So the first thing that we have done is we have the options that we see, it's coming from this riddle object, and again you're doing it in the constructor. So what if the user clicks on play again? Of course you have to redo and the constructor doesn't get called again. So let's do one thing is let's try to create this as a reusable function so that whenever even we do a play game click again, the options get rendered too. So how we can do that is let's move this entire thing into a function. Let's say play game. Now let's just create the play game, and from here let's return the same object. For instance, nothing has changed, everything works the same. Let's refresh it and everything is still the same. So all we did was we moved the constructor logic to a method. Now let's try to make sure that we dynamically generate this content. So let's do one thing is let's just store this in a variable. Let's say riddle equals to whatever we just had, and let's return the riddle. Okay, again everything remains the same, nothing changes. Now before even getting started, let's make sure we have this generated dynamically, which means a random number is needed, and of course we can give the range to a random number. So in JavaScript, which is plain JavaScript, you can create a random number method, which is random number, and here you can just say it accepts min comma max because you need to pass in a range. And the way you can return is you return math dot floor because you need to make sure it's the lower number, math dot random into max minus min plus 1, and once you do that I just need to do a plus 1 so that it also includes the max. Oh, I think this should be min, so let's make sure that's corrected. Now once we have the random number, let's just do a random number on the console. So every time I get called console.log, say random this dot random number. Okay, oops, let's save this and let's call this 2 times, so at least we can see that we have 2 numbers generated. Let's also pass in a range. Let's say we pass 20 to 50. Same here, 20 to 50. Now let's go to the console and let's see if we get our 2 numbers. So we got 44 and 43, random enough. So let's try to store this as field 1 and field 2. So we got our first set of numbers. Let field 1 is equals to this dot random number 20 comma 50. Let's store a new number onto the field 2, and you can also store the result, which is very easy. So result is equals to field 1 plus field 2. Let's update these fields. So this becomes field 1, this becomes field 2, and this becomes result. I think that is an exception. Let's see what the problem is. This dot random number is not a function. Oh, there's a typo here. It's random DOM. How dumb. Okay, the page refreshes. Let's go to the console and make sure our random numbers are still intact. So 20 and 46. Let's just remove this. We don't need this anymore because the random numbers would be different. Let's just print out the riddle. So riddle riddle console log, page should refresh and you should start seeing an object out here. Fantastic. So you see an array which has 4 options. Of course it is hard coded, and then you see 2 numbers which is 22 and 40. and the answer is 62. So the first step of doing the math is done. Now the only thing that is remaining is generating the random number of options. So let me take a step back and recap what we have done, because I don't want you to get lost. Okay. So the first thing that we have done is we move the riddle object into its own function or a method called play game, where we created or sent the riddle object as an output. Now when we did that, we also wrote another implementation which is generating a random number, which is very easy in JavaScript. Now I also passed in a range which is between 20 and 50, so that my random numbers are always in that range. The next thing we did was we did a sum and make sure our riddle object got updated with these options. The only thing that remains is generating this randomly. And now that we already have the field 1 and the field 2, why not let's just update it in the question itself. So instead of this 5 hard coded, let's try to do it this dot state dot riddle dot, and the next thing is field 1. Let me copy this and I can go here, replace the other 5 with the field 2. Make sure it has the brackets, and let's save it. So you can see every time I refresh the page, I should see a new set of random numbers. So step 1 done. In the next lecture, what we will see is how to make sure these are randomly generated and they fall in a range so that they do not go negative, they do not have decimals, and they have the right numbers and they are not duplicates. So the way we will do it is I'll show in the next class. Okay.